do the shell stitch in the Sea Dragon Shawlette by Janet Weston. I've already got one row of the shells done in the contrasting. I've already knit across this row and I'm ready to start my first shell. We're going to go over 3 stitches. I don't need to count rows because I'm going to go down to the row here where I've got the contrasting yarn all the way down. I'm going to put the needle through the fabric in that row all the way through, yarn over and pull through. Knit 1 through the same hole, yarn over, knit 1. Knit through, go through the fabric again, yarn over, that's 3, yarn over, go down through the fabric again, the same hole. I've got 4 stitches. You want to keep these loops very loose, and I go through every so often and just loosen them up. Knit 1, that's, you should have 6 loops when you're done. I've got 5, I need 1 more. And then I like to, after each shell is done, I like to make sure I've got all 6 and just pull on them, loosen them up. They're nice and even and look symmetrical. We're going to knit 9 for the next shell. I'm ready to start the next shell. You'll notice I had to correct a stitch I had tinked out earlier. Same thing, I'm going to go over 3 stitches and I'm going to go down in the 3 stitches down to the row right there where I've got the contrasting yarn. Go all the way through, yarn over, pull through. Every so often just check and make sure that they're nice and loose. I have found that it is hard to get these too loose. It is easy to get them too tight. So be sure and pull them up so that they're nice and and 6. In the total shell there are 11 stitches, 6 loops, counting the 6 loops. So I've got these all nice and loose and I can count my stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 stitches. So I've got all of my stitches there. Knit 9 for the next before the next shell. Same thing, count over 3 stitches, and I'm going to go down to the row here where I've got the contrast yarn. I don't have to count the 6 rows other than the very first row. When you put in the first row of shells, you have to count. Yarn's not cooperating, and I want to go down through here, and I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I need knit 1 more stitch and go through, and that gives me my shell. And then you can tug on the fabric a little bit and just make sure they lay nice and pretty. And then knit to your end of your row. I didn't do the increases in my swatch, so you need to do those. I'm coming back now. You're still going to knit until you get to the stitch before your shells. Okay, I'm at the stitch before my shell. I've got my shells here and one stitch before. You're going to purl through the back loop for two stitches together, so it's going to be this stitch and one of the loops. You're going to purl through the back loop of both of these together. Purl through. You're going to do that 3 times. You're going to have one stitch that comes from the front and one stitch that's from the back. See how you have one stitch here and then you've got one stitch that's floating towards the back. Knit through the back loop. You're going to do that 3 times. Again, I've got one stitch that's forward, one that's through the back. When I go through the back loop, I'm going to purl one stitch, and this will always be a stitch that has been purled on the row before, or knit on the row before, just by itself. Now I'm going to purl 2 together 3 times. Again, you're going to have one loop that goes to the back and the stitch that goes to the front. 1, 2, then your last loop and one extra stitch, 7. I'm going to knit 7. I'm ready to start my last shell. I've got my stitch here and I've got my loop. I'm going to go through the back of the stitch and I'm going to purl through the back. Sometimes you have to move the, play with them and get your loops in the right places. Again, 2 of them, purl through the back. 1 more, purl through the back. Sometimes I just pull them out. Purl through the back. I'm going to purl 1, again the center stitch. Now I'm going to purl 2 together 3 times. I'm going to knit 7. I'm ready to do my last shell. I'm the stitch before the shell starts. So I'm going to purl through the back loop. Oops, I've only got one of them. 3 times. And sometimes I hold the stitches a little isolated from the others so I don't grab extras. It's whatever works. That should be 3. Knit the center stitch, purl 2 together 3 times. And then purl to the end of your row, or knit to the end of your row, not purl. And I had set this up so I could have my tab. I selvage stitch, go over and knit in my pink. And there is how you make your shells. And you'll notice on your shells that your shells are in between the 2 shells on the row before, just exactly in the center. My next row, the shells are going to be exactly above this shell here. And that's how you do your shells.